the record. Great. Okay. So hi, everybody. Welcome to Crowdfunding and the Small Nonprofit. So my name is Sharon Goodson, and I work at the Leachtag Foundation. And this workshop is kind of twofold. We have a project. So I know there are some folks with us who are not in San Diego and or maybe not participating in a project we have called San Diego Gives. This came out of, it's part of a curriculum that we put together for San Diego Gives, which is a 6-month nonprofit capacity building and donor education program that highlights San Diego nonprofits and culminates with a 24-hour crowdfunding campaign on September 8th. But you don't have to be in San Diego Gives to come to this workshop. And it is approved to get CFRE CEU credits. So for those of you who are tracking those, you can definitely use this as your, I think it's 1.5 units. So we may mention San Diego Gives as just a campaign, but the kind of lessons learned will be, broader than that. So I guess just, take it for what it is. We are going to be really informal. We don't have like a big PowerPoint or anything. We have 4 speakers with us with lots of experience participating, particularly with San Diego Gives and other crowdfunding campaigns. We have Lisa Lindgren from Hands On San Diego, she's waving there. Mim from Healthy Day Partners, Veronica from Chicano Foundation, and Jessica from our office at Leachtag. So we kind of have some kind of questions that we think are going to be common questions for folks that we'll go through. And I know we have other people on here too that have a lot of experience. We have Mindy from Hebrew Free Loan, and we have Trisha, and we've got lots of folks who have lots of experience. So this can definitely be, sharing the knowledge for sure. But anyway, I'll start with some of these questions for our speakers. And then why don't we do this? Since we do have a lot of people with a lot of background, I'll kind of pose a question about the crowdfunding campaign. And we're kind of targeting this to the small group. So the idea is that, maybe your organizations don't have a big team, of folks in marketing or development. I know we've got a couple like one-person shop with several, if not more, organizations that like, it's just you, and so like, how do you make the most of your time if you're going to invest in this? Where, what should you prioritize? So it's kind of like the gist of the whole piece here. And so we'll kind of go through this. I'll pose a question. We'll kind of put it to the panel to answer just in general, and then others can chime in. How does that sound? Okay, right. All right, so basically starting, taking it as you're creating the campaign, and really starting first with, making sure that your page stands out, so if it's part of San Diego Gives, you're one of 300 organizations participating. If you're doing a crowdfunding campaign on your own, donors are seeing other campaigns, like what are the key tips that we should keep in mind? So Veronica, can I start with you?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for the invitation, Sharon, and hello, everyone. I'm really happy to be here. As Sharon mentioned, my name is Veronica Macedo, and I'm with the Chicano Federation. We are an agency that provides the many different services to the community, from childcare to affordable housing to workforce development. We currently have a summer camp, it's random, but now we do those as well. So one of the things that I think work for us, I think it's like twofold, because I think when you're planning a campaign, you gotta know exactly who are you gonna target. So if it's existing donors, or you're gonna search for new donors. So it's kind of like a balance, because I think like when you create your page, you have to really highlight the impact that your organization has. For example, in our case, and I'm going to use our example, we have many different programs. So in a campaign like this, if we are targeting new donors, we want those donors to get a gist of what the organization does, of all the things that we do. And if we have, existing donors, they already kind of like know what we do. So it's kind of like finding the balance. So like knowing exactly what is your goal and what your target is going to be. But I think like it is important. And as you mentioned, just a specific example for San Diego Gives, because it's, a shorter campaign, sort to speak. Our website or our page has the information about our organization, but doesn't have a lot of information, because also you want someone to go in and get like the information. But if you have like maybe like a very long description, maybe they're not going to continue reading. So it's important to do, if you have pictures or you have like infographics, like things that capture the work that you do, and then why is that work important, not only what you do but also the impact that you have. So I think that you have to highlight that. So like if we have affordable housing, like how many of those affordable housing residents then become homeowners or something like that because of the support they receive for the organization. So those little tidbits. So that's what I would say, like in our experience, just giving that like impact information without being like too long, too descriptive, so that again, your current donors see the impact, but also if you're targeting new donors, also learn about what you do. So it's tricky, but just knowing what you want to target, right?
Great, thanks so much, Monica. That's really helpful. So you're saying also being pretty outcomes focused of the.
I think so. And like in the example that I was giving is because of our programs, right? I'm thinking like, for example, if you are, like an animal shelter or something like that, maybe your donors are more likely to like the stories, right? Success stories about, like pets that get adopted, and maybe it's more like storytelling, right? So I think it depends on your organization, and also thinking of your donor, like what does your donor want to see? So, I mean, stories are great too.
That's great. Thank you so much. Yeah. Mim, how about you?
So just to throw a wrench in that, I think we're kind of going the opposite direction. So I'm Mim with Healthy Day Partners. Thank you, everybody. I'm so glad to be here with you. Thank you, Sharon, for the invitation. We're a really small nonprofit. We're trying to help people learn how to grow and source food as close to their plates as possible for personal health and the health of the planet. And our focus is really on teaching food insecure folks how to grow their own food instead of relying on all the feeding programs. Not instead of, but as a complement, I should say. But I think that's the way of the future. Of all days to get a frog in my throat. I'm so sorry. So we are tiny. I am the one who wears all the hats. I have someone who helps me 3 hours a week. So that's all we have for employees. So I'm running a lot of programs and doing the marketing, the social media, and the outreach, the grant writing, everything. And so we're kind of going backwards from everything Veronica said is absolutely true. I think for a really small organization, we probably won't get that many new donors, quite honestly, with San Diego Gives. It's more about, it's a great opportunity to pull in our crowd, our network, and a great excuse to say, like, this is the day. And we are not as data driven this year. I made a pledge to my board and all of our programs that we're focusing on quality over quantity. So we aren't really data focused at the moment, and we're not writing grants, which we rely on the most, that are focused on, we are focused on outcomes, but it's not about the numbers. It's about the quality of the work and being the best at what we do. So we're trying to get that messaging across in our campaigns as well. And just also to go backwards, for us, since we're not targeting our audience so much and thinking about the donors, new donors, even though we would love new donors and need new donors, we are thinking about how we grow. And so knowing what we're asking money for, to grow our capacity, to grow our programs, to increase the quality of the work that we're already doing, those are like really important dollars, unrestricted dollars that aren't necessarily written into a lot of the grants that we apply for. So we want to be able to share with the people that we're asking money from, support from. We want them to know like what we're doing and why we're taking these next steps in our organization to grow, in a sense, not necessarily grow bigger, but to grow better. So it's a little bit of a different angle from Veronica's.
Great, thanks so much, ma'am. That's super. Lisa, what do you think?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Lindgren. I'm the Executive Director for Hands On San Diego. We have double the staff of NIM. We have 2. So we're also tiny. So, and thank you, Sharon, for inviting us. I was actually kind of surprised to get invited because we didn't have a clue what we were doing last year. We basically just followed what they told us to do. We did it all, and we were really pleased, and we exceeded our goal. So that was good. As far as our page, it's interesting. You both have kind of different perspectives. So Hands On San Diego, what we do is we provide volunteer support to other nonprofits. So we don't have the story that your $50 will feed a child for a month or anything like that. It's difficult to quantify, but we do provide a very important service, and we have many of our nonprofit partners on this call today. I can see several of them. And so for us, I think the purpose of our organizational page in San Diego Gives is one of education a little bit, to let people know what we do and how broadly their impact. We put, in our title, your gift will support many, all in capital letters, many nonprofits. And then we talk about all the services. We do it in bullets. I think bullets is great, just as far as you lay out your page, the bullets of what we do. I loved, Veronica, what you said about infographics. I want to go back and look at our page because we do have some impact data, and I think that could be in graphical form, and I think it would be easier to absorb what that means. What we also did, because we do support so many nonprofits, is that I think there's 4 of them that we got our nonprofit partners to give us, tell us why it's important to them that we help them. So it's like 2 to 3 sentences per, and we put them in blocks in different colors as you go down, so they really stand out, and they're the voice of these different nonprofits to say, this is why it's important that you help support them, because it's going to help support us. And then this year we added a video, so I'm excited about that. I think anytime you can add more visuals, especially video, it's very helpful, and it tells your story well. We were very fortunate to have a videographer donate doing the video for us. He had done some work with us as far as supporting some of our corporate projects. He'd actually been hired by the corporations to take some video. And so we were able to kind of splice together this short video. It's like a minute and a half. You don't want it long, right? And it kind of says, your gift does this, it does this, your gift means this, your gift helps. And it's really very good. So you're all welcome to go look at our page and look at that video. I don't know that he'd do it for free to everybody else, but I'm happy to give a referral. He did a great job, and I think it really helped us convey our message. I'm looking at my little notes here. I think that's what we tried to do to make our page stand out.
Great, thank you so much, Lisa. And Jessica, last but not least, maybe from your not necessarily us, of course, but like your overall understanding.
Sure, I think all of those tips nailed it. Definitely agree with a lot of those things. The only things I would add are, and maybe this will break the mold of what people think they're going into for San Diego Gives, but it can really help to focus on one project or program. So it might be a natural inclination to say, this is our organization, we're fundraising for our organization, these are all the things we do. But for just random either people who are kind of looking through all the organizations or even people who are already on your donor list. It can really help to focus them onto one of the things you do. Then you can give very specific metrics and facts. You can tell one very specific story to illuminate that one project or program that you really want to achieve. And you can be so specific about a goal. And donors are extremely goal oriented. I'm going to come back to that a few times today. But I would advocate to consider thinking about one thing to fundraise for on that day and figure out how to tailor everything you're doing for that. I totally agree with the video and the images. I've seen a lot of different models on the Mighty Cause platform, and some of the ones that I think are the most effective are exactly kind of what Lisa was saying about the blocking. It's sort of like trains the eye and leads you through a timeline or a story about whatever it is you're fundraising for, and balancing or combining text and images, or text and video, or text and infographic, so that you're not saying like, here's all the text and then here are a couple images below, way below. And it looks like there are some really nice plugins as well to link Instagram galleries, link YouTube, that kind of thing. One note about video that I would add, I would say, even if you're going with a specific project or program, use existing resources that you have. If you're small, you don't have to do something new. Any video is illuminating because people just want to see people and they want to hear who you are. And the other thing I would say to that is it doesn't have to be professional. So if you don't have any video, it's really great and by far like okay to just video yourself, or do a pan of a program on your phone and stitch it together. I mean, really minimal effort here, as long as there is something that is showing and conveying that experience to people. I think it's extremely gripping.
That's great, Jessica. Thank you so much. I think one of the best presentations I saw was kind of right when COVID hit. Greg Angel, who's the CEO of Interfaith, huge organization, so doesn't fit the small mode at all. But when nobody was getting together and we were, people were trying to play with, how do we do the site visit? How do we keep donors engaged? He just walked around Interfaith with his phone and videoed himself, with his mask on and, kind of like, here's what's happened. And it was great. It really was very good. And so that could be, something as well, just, to think about. So, especially if you are looking for new donors who you can't get them to come to your site, or they haven't been. So actually, Trisha puts a good question in the chat of, there's only these, only room for these 5,000 words in the profile. I've seen them be all different lengths because I've been looking at all of the different pages. What do you guys think is optimal? It sounds like a mix of layout is good. But what do you think? Anybody can.
I didn't even know there was a limit. So we didn't hit it, so that's good. I think to me, if you can share it kind of quickly, and like I said, I like bullets because they can skim them, and I like the infographics. I'm definitely going back to do that because you can convey that more. It's just easier for the audience to absorb. So I don't know about anything as far as an optimal length. I think shorter is better as long as you convey what you want.
Mm-hmm.
I think for us, again, I'm always bucking the system. I don't worry about the length of what we are writing. It's just not something I am thinking about. I'm just thinking because we do something no one else is doing, that an education has to be part of it. So it takes some words to describe what we do. And I do like the point about maybe we shouldn't do all of our programs. I think I picked the top 3 or 4 and just focused on those, little blurb on each one, but maybe I'll shorten mine actually. But it's just not something I necessarily thought about because just like I said, education is just as important as what we do. Education about what we do and how to look at things a little differently than people have looked at things in the past. So I think I didn't hit our limit either. And I agree with you, Lisa. I'm glad that I didn't, but I think ours might be a little bit long.
Mhm. Yeah, and 5,000, that's a lot of words. You know,
I'm wondering if there's any results from last year about which profiles were more successful or anything like that. I mean, I didn't get anywhere near 5,000 words. Sharon, I'm an editor.
I know.
Cut with every possible, opportunity to cut. But we really need new donors. This is what my job is to bring in new people. So I want to make sure they understand what it is that we do. And how important that is. But I'm just wondering, what were the other profiles that you found or someone else found really good, and how long were they?
Mhm. I don't know that we analyzed that. I mean, I don't think we could probably go back and do that. I mean, the organizations that we, like these guys did well, for sure. Like we sort of picked speakers that had some good success last year. But yeah, I don't know if others have thoughts about space or length.
Well, I just wanted to chime in and say, last year there were 100, maybe less than 100 organizations, or maybe around 100 organizations participating, and this year it's over 300. So I think that changes things as well. So new donors, you're right, like aren't going to read everybody's. I mean, it's going to be it's just a whole different ball game this year. So I think it will be a learning curve.
It's a good
The only
point.
thing I would add is it might not be about length as much about formatting. So think
Mhm.
about designing it. So a lot more bullet points. It's not all your text maybe is the same width even, just some of it's this width, some of it's full width, just to help people flow through the page and land on something that they're going to digest.
Mhm.
So again, maybe not about the length as much as about or how you're organizing it.
Yep, sorry about that. My phone rang. Another would be communicating with donors, communicating with your current donors and your potential donors. And we've started to, I think the advice that I had seen from many was that, or some are that about 6 weeks out, which is just about where we are now, from the September 8th campaign, to start putting information on your signature line for your emails, and if you're doing any donor letters or newsletters or things, and start getting your donors used to seeing San Diego Gives on stuff, so that they'll, it'll resonate when the time comes. I mean, they can start giving now, the pages are live, and that would be great, can certainly do that. But what tips might anybody have about, reaching out, making the most again of your time, given that you're small organizations, to current donors, and then reaching some of those potential donors?
I can start, and I don't know if I'm maybe getting myself a little bit up ahead on the conversation that's upcoming, but one of the things that we are trying to do in terms of like new donors or new partners is like, when we're having those phone calls, those, like Zoom meetings, those conversations with people that we're talking about this specific event, right? So what we're trying to do is just to share the initiatives that we're working on. And then, for example, when San Diego Gives come up, we're not necessarily asking them to like either donate or things like that, but explaining the concept and getting like excited about that. So for example, in our case, we have been able to talk to maybe like 2 or 3 people that are interested in championing a campaign for us. So it's just like, oh, let us know, and I'll do a fundraiser for you, or I'll participate, things like that. So just getting them excited about it. But also we do have like our, like a monthly newsletters, we do e-blasts, we do, like the typical like social media posts. But I think just like those one-on-one conversations, and I know that we're going to talk about this in a little bit as well. Also, like with our current donors, just like sharing with them that, you know, like, thank you for supporting our organization. Like, these are other ways that you can support. And it's like sharing the information with your friends, your family, and things like that. So, you know, like, your support can extend a little bit more without necessarily, you know, like, they're already giving us money. It's like, oh, can you give us more? Just like other ways that they can get involved. So that's all that I have right now.
No, that's great.
One thing we're doing this year, is it all right to continue this conversation?
Please, please, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
One thing we're doing when it comes to new donors, we're using the network that we have, much like Veronica was just saying. So I'm actually putting together an email for the board. So our board will then, I told them there's an expectation that they now put that out to all of their network and just explain like that they're on our board and why they're on our board. And they don't necessarily need to donate, but I want to at least raise awareness of what we're doing and why they believe in us so much. And that is something new for us. So that I did notice last year, and last year was just like a crash course on fundraising. I think crowdfunding, it was very different for me from the grant writing I typically do. And so I'm just trying to always learn new ways to get help and not have everything on my own shoulders. And so this year I set the expectation for our board to participate, and I'm really excited to see if we do get any new donors from that.
Right. That's great. Jessica or Lisa, or yeah, just.
Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
I was just gonna say, we used all channels available to us. We also followed, I think, the recommended things to do. Again, we just kind of followed the cookbook and the recipe in the cookbook. But so we did we do weekly newsletters because it's really promoting the tip for different types of volunteer opportunities that are coming up too. We highlight a few. So we included it in those, and we used all our social media. One thing I'd like to say is we kind of warned everybody that they might be hearing more from us than normal, just so that we didn't burn them out and they, just unsubscribed. We were afraid of that because we don't do as much as we did. And then to piggyback on what Miv said about the board, so last year was, yes, they were all supposed to help, and they did at various levels. And this year it's we have a new chairwoman of our board, and she's just kind of saying, this is our team goal, which means each of you need to do this much. And so she's kind of making it a little bit more specific to them. And we set them up as a team under the Mighty Cause so that you could see how they did. We also created templates for the board that they could, templates to have their own page. So we kind of had it all ready for them, and then they could just personalize it a little bit, which some did take advantage of it and some didn't. We also, I think it's a really good way too, because as you were saying, Mim, they can say why this is important to them and how they can customize it into that kind of messaging from them. And it was new to us last year. We typically don't have a lot of donors because we have volunteers, and people think, well, why should I give you money? I'm already volunteering my time. So that's something we continue to kind of struggle with, that kind of messaging. Yeah, we really need your help. Thank you for volunteering, but we also need your help. So anyway, we took advantage of everything that we could take advantage of. We're doing it again this year. We've updated everything. And I love being a part of this panel because I'm getting all these ideas, and I'm writing my own ideas down as well, because I don't think we did our signature line last year. And so, I'm gonna suggest that we put the signature line out there. Anyway, we try to take advantage of every avenue we have. We have a volunteer team of marketing people that only meets once a month. But I'm putting them on this as far as how else can they help us spread the message. So we'll use all the hands-on social media channels, and then they need to share those out. So and then back to, not everybody was on yet, but I was asking Sharon, there was a presentation, it sounds like it was in June, and it was strategies to think about how to reach out beyond your regular network and who all to reach. So it's recorded in the library of things that have been done. It was excellent. I think I would highly recommend. It made me think about, who am I not asking that I should be asking, and you know, why might they care about this? And if you don't ask, they can't give, right? So
Right. Thank you. That's so great. Yeah. Jess.
Just a couple additions, because those are all awesome. If, and this is sort of general crowdfunding, but if there are a few very loyal supporters who you can ask to make their donations early in the day or early in the time period to get things started, and so you can benchmark, just like at a gala, like if you're benchmarking a raise the paddle and you know certain gifts are going to come at certain times, it's just the same with crowdfunding. So make sure that you have that, and then you might even have some who are planted to go later in the day, so that you can get over certain humps and milestones. So I would say that is one aspect. I would also say, in terms of communications, you know that everyone is going to be getting a lot of communications the day before and that day. So if you can plan everything earlier and even start to seed your emails earlier with the heads up, that would behoove you. The other thing is recruiting people who aren't donors to your contact lists earlier and keeping them informed. I know we weren't too far out right now, but so like the earlier the better. You can inform them about what you're doing without asking, so that they have some information and they're your friends, and then you can sort of say, by the way, this is a really nice opportunity for us. San Diego Gives, you know, if you want to learn more, this is a nice time to join or get on board. And going back to, you know, recruiting those loyal supporters, the language that you might want to use is, you know, just very candid with them. Like, you get to see behind the curtain. This is how crowdfunding is working. You know, help us out and make this successful. Just like really make them part of your team. And I think some others use similar language with that, but I think that's really useful. I think that's all I have to share on this right now.
Great. No, thank you. Those are really great suggestions. Could we talk a little bit more about, I think Lisa had said it, about like people create their own pages and create a team? Because there's more, you know, we've been talking so much, and you're probably sick of hearing, at least with San Diego Gives, that, you know, of like, set up your profile, you know, and now those are just about, you know, done. So you won't hear from that about that anymore. But now, like, there's so much more that can happen, you know, with it's like a peer-to-peer fundraising, and there's information on the San Diego Gives University, the website page. And just like Lisa had said, like, all of the workshops that we've done in the past have been recorded, and the links are posted, and the PDFs of all the slides are posted too. But so you can always go back and flip around. But does anybody have any tips around the peer-to-peer piece or these individual pages, and beyond engaging the board? You know, you already shared some really good stuff, but anything else with that?
I would just say so that peer-to-peer, there's a way to create a template. And then when somebody first comes to your page, they can donate, or they can, you know, help you donate, I think. I don't remember what exactly it says. And then if they click that, then they have the opportunity to use a template. And so so we created the template, and then they can make it their own. We used a lot of, and there's a lot of resources this year, probably more than last year, but last year we kind of got into all the stuff that was there. So I can't remember what they're called, the communications guide or something like that. I mean, a lot of it was there. It just, and we're a team of two, like I said, so it was having to carve out a little bit of time. We did it sort of early. So Jessica and I sat down, you know, it's probably about now six weeks or a little more out last year. We use a tool called Asana for project management, and it's free. And so we kind of sat down together and we said, okay, based on what they say we should do and everything that needs to happen to get there, you know, we kind of laid out a whole calendar and then just kind of executed it, staying on that. And we did that research on how to set up a template and those kinds of things. fairly early on, so we had it ready and we weren't scrambling at the end to try to get it ready. And now it's still there. So everything from last year was still there. And so now you can just update it, make it a little better, refresh, freshen it up a little, swap out some new photos, so anyway, we took advantage of whatever we could, that all the knowledge that was available. And Mighty Causes have been really very helpful, I've found.
Veronica, do you want to share anything?
Yeah, and just to add on to what Lisa was saying, I think like creating the template is a great tool, just because a lot of people might find intimidating creating their own fundraiser page. And that's something that we are doing this year. We didn't do it last year, but we're doing this year specifically for the board, because sometimes either not so much they're intimidated, but maybe they don't have the time to create it, or they're not really sure what they should have, or they don't have the photos and things like that to upload. So we're creating the template for them. And kind of like one of the things that we also did last year is involving our staff. I know that a lot of nonprofits do not have like a big staff, but with us was just like sharing the information and kind of like trying to provide some kind of like incentive if your organization is able to do so, because sometimes that spices it up a little bit. So for example, in our case, some of the things that we've done is like either whoever like raises the most money or brings in the most donors, because it not necessarily has to be because like within their networks, maybe their network is donating like less amounts, but there's like a good amount of donors, things that are easy for us to like reward them with us, like you can take a half day off for the top two like fundraisers or things like that. So trying to engage them in things like that, and like finding creative ways of rewarding them without like spending money or things like that. So just like think of little trinkets like that can get them excited, and do like a little bit of competition, healthy competition.
Right. Yeah. Fun things to kind of keep it interesting and exciting, engaging your staff, engaging your beneficiaries, of your organization, like, even just to like the San Diego Gives, follow San Diego Gives on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. That'll be on this coming week's update, and just encouraging donors and beneficiaries to do that. That alone is huge. Then, we end up with more influencers, so to speak. So, Jessica, were you going to say something? Like
I could just add for fundraiser pages, the personal stories of why they're connected, why they got involved, why they give. And if they have photos of themselves with either staff or at a volunteering or at a program, those are just really nice for their friends to see.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's great. And it can be back from, a gala or, when they, like you said, volunteering or just there. What questions do you guys have? And I mean, we've kind of hit some of the main areas that we had identified.
There's that question about keywords for the search function. I think that's a really great question. And even when I was searching, like I searched Healthy Day, and then I thought it was really interesting to see which ones came up. Yours was the first one, but which other organizations came up, I was really surprised. And I think it's useful to maybe look at newsletters you've written, or think about conversations that you've had, like what are those adjacent words that sort of describe what you do, and try to weave those into your narrative or to bullet points, because it seems like the search function is really good and picks up, like I searched strategic, and I just was wondering, would any donor ever want to search strategic? And there were a few that had that in there. So I think just thinking about like what are concepts that are important to donors and maybe even people who aren't so like steeped in nonprofits, and they might just like see San Diego Gives and wonder what it is. What are the things that like a new person to nonprofits might be thinking about, and just put yourself in their shoes and try to weave those things in, but not worry about it too much, because I don't know how common that is.
I was just going to add that, oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, ma'am.
Oh, I was just going to add that last year, well, first of all, I do want to go backwards because I did so much research last year. I mean, there was information from Mighty Cause, but it was all new to me. So I went down a huge rabbit hole of blogs and articles and webinars, and like really tried to learn as much as I could in the time that I had. And it helped me decide that we were going to do this matching grant. And I think having a matching grant was something attractive to a lot of people. So the keywords just triggered that for me when you were saying you did the search. And some people might be looking for a matching grant. And the same for our, you said earlier, Jessica, something about having, I think it was you, Jessica, something about having people give early and people to give later. And I think the matching grant was great because people were texting me, because we didn't do a lot ahead of time last year, but my friends and supporters were texting me about, that is not my dog, by the way, about, like, how close are you? Do you need me at the end? Do you want me in the beginning? And so I had people lined up for some pretty substantial amounts of money. And it was really fun for them to participate on a higher level, even though they had already donated to us prior. There was something so exciting. And so like, it created this sense of urgency that the day was ending and we, had to reach that match to double the money, and it worked beautifully. It worked perfectly. I think we just slid in at the very end and got our 10,000, which was awesome. But I think people might be looking for that matching grant is really all I was chiming in with. And I do think it's important to attend things like this. And there's a lot of information out there. I mean, I like barely touched the tip of the iceberg, and I really learned a lot, sort of a crash course in crowdfunding. Again, something that's really new to me. I've participated from the donating side of things, but I've never been the ask, I've never done that. Like I said, I'm used to some individual donations and a lot of grant writing, and that's what we rely on the most. And so there's a lot to learn, but it's fun. It's really exciting. There's a ton of information out there. And I was really glad to learn about the matching grant because I do feel like that's what made our campaign successful last year.
Weren't there also additional matching funds that came in? There were like power hours or something. There was like a drive time one, and then there was another one. And so when those happened, and we also had a matching grant, we tried to put out the message, hey, right now, your money is not only double, it could be quadrupled, And so we tried to take advantage of those times, mostly on social media because that's the quickest. But yeah, I think the matching funds is great.
Mm-hmm. And that's sorry. I was just going to say that's what we're raising funds for that now. In sort of the back of this, that's what the sponsorships and all of that is going towards. We hope to have at least $70,000 that we can use to that. It's not a ton, but it would be like kind of up to $10,000 at this point or whatever. I'm sorry, Chanel, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, Urban Restoration Counseling Center, we are new. Well, we're not new. We've been here in existence for like 4 years, but we're new to getting to the status in our business development where we can, really start doing these things. And so I'm curious to know, how do you find matching grants? Because that was one of the things that I was working on yesterday. Like, how do you find that, or how do you get into organizations that have them? I just don't really know kind of a lot about it. Can somebody help me or shoot a video towards me or something? 2-page.
Well, I'm going to be really honest. I reached out to family. That's what I did. I reached out to extended family, something I had never done before, to be honest. And it was really interesting. And I said, is it okay, not just for you to donate, but for me to use this as a matching grant for this situation? And they were happy to do it. So yeah, it was a first all the way around. I think that's a really great place to start. And then if you have donors from the past who have been able to donate in higher sums of money, then I would reach out to them as well and see, you know, they're going to love doubling their support of you. So I would reach out to them pretty quickly.
Unfortunately, in communities of color, we don't have some of the leverages that you have. We don't have family members, extended family members with large sums of income. And we don't have, as a younger organization, we don't have the we haven't developed out our donor program. You know, we really have been successful in how we've been able to manage, but we don't have some of those other key elements that you have in place. Are there any other suggestions about how one may access if I don't have it in my network? But thank you for that.
I mean, I would just anytime. I would, in that situation, my first thought would be to go corporate and just ask a business that you do business with, or in your neighborhood, or someone you know does good in your area. I would reach out to them and see if they would be willing to give you something that could be matched. And, you know, they get noticed for it. So it might be right up their alley. So maybe it's even like $1,000 and you turn it into $2,000. I think that would be a great start.
And
Thank
it
you
might
so
be
much.
that a match isn't just from one person or company. I've seen it done where it's, you know, it's like even this is a different scale, but it ends up being 40, 50 people who give a little bit as a match. Like, let's say you're trying to match new donations. So you ask all the people who've donated before, would you give $20 toward a matching thing? And anyway, it's a lot more time, you know, but if it's really about those increments, you could patch something together that could make it seem like there's a really big donor in the back. So that could work too.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Trisha, were you going to say something?
Yeah, it actually goes back to a few comments before when someone suggested reaching out to the people you serve. That from my years at the San Diego Food Bank and opening envelopes and getting $2 and $3, it is brilliant because it's the number of donors you get, not necessarily the amount for something like this, because you can then take that $2, $3 donor and move them up over the course of the next year. But kids love social media. Kids, you know, young people love crowdfunding stuff. And I'll say it again, I say this all the time, you don't know how much money people have. You do not know. So, you know, they may be availing themselves of your services for one reason or another, but their parents, their aunt, their uncle, their grandparents, you know, if they can be involved in a positive activity, which would be helping their friends and family learn about your organization because they love it so much, it's a really great way to engage them. And don't look down on those little gifts. They really can add up.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Right. I was going to say too, and I think Mim mentioned any vendors or, you know, the people that you have relationships with, you know, even like, you know, stationery or printing, or I don't know, I'm not thinking of it, but just, and again, they can be very, you know, it can be a $50 match. It doesn't, we're not talking big, you know, the thing with this too, crowdfunding, you know, there are others who probably know more of a philosophy, but, you know, it is more about the individual, like the more the donors, the better, and the awareness than the big money, just the chunk grant. You know, if we were going to do like a big grant to everybody, we would try to, you know, I don't know where, but, you know, we would try to like get a big grant and, you know, there, you know, we would go. But, you know, this is really trying to, I keep saying it, but like the person, you know, at Ralph's or Vaughn's, you know, like how do people kind of get what's going on beyond their, you know, silo?
I think that's lovely too, Sharon, and just framing what is success to you. Like, what is, you know, everybody just sort of like what I was talking about, like the data oriented, like you can have your own perspective, and it can be like a lot more $2 donors, and that is your success of your campaign. So it doesn't have to be a certain amount of money. I love that.
What other question? Oh, Alyssa, hello.
Hi, I love this conversation about matching in particular, because I think it's one of the most effective ways not only to bring in a donor to give the match, but also to incentivize others to match, and really appreciate the question around where do you find people who will do these matches. And I'm not participating in San Diego Gives as a nonprofit. I work at Dr. Bronner, so we're sponsoring San Diego Gives, but I come from nonprofits and I run fundraising for my kids' school and have been a fundraiser for 20 something years. And so for the school, we did a match where teachers gave, and they gave like $5 or $2, whatever. But then when you go to the parents and say, the teachers came up with this match, they're kind of like, okay, if the teachers are giving, we have to give. This is ridiculous. So I think even if you have a population of people, to the point around the food bank, like if you have a population of people where it's like, look, if these people found money to give, certainly you can find money to give, even if it's $1 or $2 or whatever the person gave. So I think there's really a powerful story there to be told, without pressuring anybody who doesn't feel that they have capacity, of course, and approaching it with a lot of humility. But I think there's high leverage there.
That's really nice. That's so really nicely said. Thank you. What other questions do you guys have?
While people are coming up with questions, I made some notes that about things to anticipate throughout the day, and sort of related to some of these matches, or even, as someone said, number of donors. I think it helps to add updates throughout the day, or whether it's by email or updating your page, and to anticipate what those might be. So whether that's we're 50% toward our goal, 70, we only have $100 left, or think ahead what milestones you're going to want to promote, and have those assets prepared, whether it's social media images or text, or updates to the page, or all of the above. And I would focus on percentage toward the goal or number of donors. I love the idea of saying we've already had however many 50 people give today, and you could get us over the next hump. So any sort of language like that, it's easy to at least prepare and then insert different numbers if you need to do that throughout the day. The other thing about matches is you could do them your own power hours if you don't want to do them, or you only have a certain amount or something like that. Or we noticed one thing we did analyze was active donation periods during the day, and then like slower periods. So very active in the morning and very active later in the day. So if you want to, I don't know, experiment and say, well, we're going to do a match in the middle of the day and see if we can get more appeal or something. Anyway, I think like planning ahead for those spurts of work so that you have things ready to go is just really key.
I'm just curious if it was even possible to research. If people came in, they probably came in because of the overall San Diego Gives campaign, or each individual organization's campaign. And if the people who came in, I guess anybody, if they were looking for something in particular, like I know my donors were looking for me. Did they also peruse other organizations? Was there a way to research that? Or even if they didn't donate, was this something that raised awareness of these other organizations? Was there any research around that?
Jess, do you want to go? I'll follow you.
I don't think we've done it yet. And I don't know if we have the data on that actually, but I'd be happy to look into it and see if there's information we can find. Because I'm curious too about, did people peruse or search for other organizations, or just like see who else is participating.
Yeah,
Because it's such a young, oh, sorry, Sharon.
Oh.
Oh, because it's such a young, sorry, or new, what am I trying to say? Event, I don't know. It'll be interesting to know, so that next year you could say, or the following years, you can say like, this is one of the reasons you should become one of our organizations, because this number of people or this percentage of people, would be new to learning about you, and just knowing that people are going out of what they already know and looking around. I mean, with over 300 organizations, that's a lot of organizations. And so I know there are a few keywords like environmental and like the animal shelters and but in general, I'm just curious how many new people come on board for the organizations that they did not know yet.
Yeah, I mean, we are tracking new donors to this. I mean, it's one of the goals that, the goal of total donors is 4,000 in total for the campaign. And I want to say a quarter of those we said were new donors. I can pull up the goals, but so there's that. There is research. I don't know, it's actually our research, but Mighty Cause runs these platforms in Seattle, the whole state of Arizona, the whole state of Minnesota. You could get on and be like, Minnesota gives, Arizona, and so we're part of a like listserv LinkedIn group and that's how we've kind of learned some of these things, that a few things do seem to work. One is that, and this is something to check too, that to be sure that you've clicked the different causes that your organization could fall under. So I was on the site yesterday and I clicked on education, and like tons of them came up, which is great, because like you could be Coastal Roots Farm and have education where I wouldn't normally think that they are education, but they are. And you can click as many of those as you want. So that's something that could be a way, like a donor loves education and they might be, oh, I didn't know that farm did education. So there's that. And I think that, and there is also research that even if they come on and they are looking for you, so they come on, they look for Healthy Day partners, they're already there and they're kind of into it. Like there's like it's kind of like shopping a sale, and you're like, what else is there? So there is, I can't give you statistics, but there is something to that. So Amy, what are you going to say?
So I have a question about that, because we've tried to find the veteran or military category. We haven't found it, and we don't come up under it when people search for it. So how does that work?
Oh, that's
for
weird.
Us?
It was added this year. It's not there now. We should look and see.
At least it's not coming up as an option for us.
Okay. Yep. That's really good to know, because that was a new one. It should definitely be there. Thank you for telling.
Thank you.
Yep. Well, check it out. You got it. I know folks are starting to pop off. We could end, which is fine, unless anybody has other questions. Whatever you guys want.
I do have one other question.
Sure.
We were just talking about potentially, we've had a significant growth in the last 9 months, and we're experiencing metric numbers that we haven't seen ever in the history of the company. Mm-hmm. So I was brainstorming putting that on our page. And do you think there's benefit to that?
I would. So there's been big increase in the number of clients that you're serving.
Clients served and resources connected to. We've almost doubled our efforts of last year, and then just completely blown out of the water efforts of the history of the company. So my thought was maybe put together, and I don't know if I should do this part, but maybe put together all of our compiled number for total number of clients served in the history of the company and resource connections provided, and then narrow it down to the last 9 months during fiscal year 2022, where we still have several months left to go and we're way beyond anything we've ever achieved. Do you think there's value in doing that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Well, I guess a couple things. So I would just wonder about the baseline, because, what might be more to you when then you go to the food bank's page and it's like 6 million people being served. So I don't want yours to be like 20, and so, but what you could
Exactly.
do is you could just do it by percentage. I don't know what other people think. It's just my own, more intuitively, we're
That's
up
a good idea, too.
75%. Yeah.
I think people like to support its success and they want to jump on and help you become more successful. I agree. Percentages are great. Infographics is the one thing
Lisa really likes the infographics. It's good.
Yeah, infographics. I'm all over it. I'm trying to make it visual, easier to understand. And I think focusing on the percentages is very smart, so that you don't get lost with large ones.
I like the percentage aspect. I think that's a much better approach.
Congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah, and people want to be part of success. They want to be part of something bigger than themselves. So give them the chance. It's great.
So I just wanted to chime in to say hands-on has been, we work with them and we've had some of the best volunteers, and I'd say most of them end up becoming permanent volunteers for us. They come every week, and some of them are even donors. So we love hands-on. Yeah, thank you.
That's like one of our things is it helps people find their passion, because they start out trying a whole bunch of different things and then I really like helping, this organization. And then, so maybe they don't help anybody. I mean, not help, but what I mean? They get more focused. And so that's so nice to hear. Thank you.
Yeah. Which brings up another piece of accessing volunteer groups, in your fundraising anyway, so especially this, because sometimes with volunteers, you're reluctant to ask, but, this could be something that's a nice fit for a volunteer. Well, great. Well, why don't we close? But if you have any questions that come up or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. We'll get you connected. We've got a fantastic marketing communication team too, and lots of wisdom. So we really want to help everybody succeed. So I will thank our speakers too. Thank you very much, Veronica, Mim, Jessica, and Lisa. And everybody have a good weekend. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. I learned a lot too.